Hey YouTube, I'm back, and here I'm sharing with you more from my Iron Viz final build. Here I am talking through the last section, the big map at the end that's more the elaborative of where can we go next with literacy. So we've been on the journey to this point, so we followed this slide technique from the beginning, the title slide, all the way through. So this technique was used to bring everybody to the same page, to understand, to care a bit about illiteracy, to understand that what happens, where the disparity is here in, say, gender, but things can get better and things can change amongst the world. Things can improve following a bit of education and learning to read and write. But then I asked later on the question of, it's been 20 years now. I've now forecasted the data forward to get to present day, but we still have 7 people here at the bottom. They're still illiterate, and I want to know what's going to happen to them, given that we were trying to produce a world where there was fair equality in education for everybody. So this is the final dashboard that I'm going to show. The main interactive piece and about the main mission of where we're trying to get to. So you can think of everything else before as like a little introduction. This is the main piece of analysis I put together to show if we were going to go out there and solve literacy, or go out and find the places where we can try and bring the global average up even further, what countries should we be targeting. And so there's a simple map put together, just focuses on those countries that are the worst affected. So parts of Africa and little parts of Asia. We use a colour legend here to show you the worst affected areas, picking up on the illiteracy colour that we had in the start, that sort of deep orange colour. And so part of this is using the interactivity in Tableau as well to tell the story. So we can click around, we can use the interactivity to change these factors here, and this uses interactions and animations again to try and show this disparity of what could be potential. So earlier you would have seen on slide 5, we talked about those benefits of illiteracy. We're now using those as KPIs to say what the benefits could be for this country if they were at the global average for literacy rates, which fills out this section at the bottom here, this KPI, if you like. So we can tell in different parts of the world, for example, Chad, we know that 73% of young people are literate, and there's gender disparity again, but we can see the actual change of what could happen for this country. They've got to that global average of increased economic outputs, living 14 years longer, and having less children per woman. So there was a few different techniques going on here in terms of building this out, which I will walk you through now. So again, you can download this workbook. It's freely available to download, and you can open it up in Tableau Desktop or Tableau Public. I've already downloaded it, so we can just take a look in here. So we go over to the last bit on my parameter. We'll see that this is it. So sheet 6 is it. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. You're probably wondering already. So there's no background with this map, and also, but there is a background here. So this here is actually just a background image that's the same slides I've been working through throughout the build is there. So I've used an image here of a map rather than just the static map. And the main reason for that is this last section here. You can see how these countries kind of have a bit of a fade to them, so that we can actually read this text here. So imagine if this country were fully out, they would really encroach on the rest of the data I'm trying to show here. So try and avoid that as much as possible. So I used an image rather than the out-of-the-box map from Tableau, but it kept that logo, that Mapbox map, because it is from Mapbox. So in the sheet there is a few things going on. So the predominant one is the country map, which is the normal kind of thing. but I've used a technique called map layers here to show again this section here. So these are now been charted as points on a map. This title, these big numbers, and then also these line points here as well. So this is not something you would typically do. You would build out the different sheets and then put them on, then float them on the dashboard as we have done with other data points. But because this is Iron Viz and you're under a time limit, I was able to build this using map layers because it would save me that time. And so I could build out just this one sheet, put it in, and you're done. You're always going to be under a bit of time pressure based on the number of calculated fields you're going to have to do, the number of sheets you're going to have to put out, the number of formatting options you're going to have to do. So less sheets means, quicker build effectively. So the idea of map layers, if you have different data points that's associated by a latitude and a longitude, you can just put them on the sheet, just layer them on top of each other, and you can then hide layers. You can keep putting things on top of each other again and again. I will hide, so you can hide these different layers here, so you can see that those three sections go away, and this is what we're used to seeing for maps. It's just a general sort of shaded in map. Okay. So if I bring this map back, so bring back the base, this is what we would typically see. So you will notice this data set I've got here on the left, up here called map layers, which I've then copied 2 more times. This is to bring those extra data points on. So I built out different sections in this data to fit all the different parts, all those different charts I wanted to show. So you have one section that does this title, you'll have one section that does these big numbers, and then one that plots these line graphs. Take you through this data quick. So under one filter, I have a section, and the section tells me which bit it's going to be. This is all built out in Tableau Prep, so I could show different factors. So I have, say, if I wanted to build out the bands, I could do band. I would then have my calculations, so I'd have those all tied to a latitude and longitude, those band numbers, those big numbers, and I could bring that onto that map here. So if we zoom out here, you can see where it is. It's sort of somewhere in Indian Ocean. So these are my points here. I can then take the different text, and add that to the chart. I can then tag the benefits. So I zoom in a bit, you can see those numbers coming through there. And then all I have to do is change this to text, which is a bit horrible. And then remove the halo bit. So the reason we're having this happen is we have a lot of different data points on top of each other. So the idea with this is that it would be filtered for an individual country. So if I filtered for, say, yes, we had Chad, that would stay as it was. So this is how this was built out. So this, in a sense, is the technique I did. So I put those latitude and longitudes associated with these points in the middle of the ocean because I knew this was where my data was going to be, and then use that to save a bit of time in the final build. But also it then shows a bit of interaction as well in that final piece. So obviously we want to be showing off the interactive features of Tableau, which I can do so by scanning around the map and clicking different countries. How that works, you also notice maybe in the sheet you have something called F. So I'm using this F here, which stands for false, to prevent any strange highlight actions going on. So in the dashboard, you can have a look under dashboard and go to actions. So you'll see in this, I have 2 actions going on. I have a highlight action and I have a parameter action. That parameter action is just when you click a country, it is changing the parameter for that country, and then provides the filter action that filters this section here for Kenya, for example. The highlight action is to prevent actual highlights happening, and I'll remove it just to show you what happens if it's not there. So I'll remove it and then click OK. If I do that, suddenly everything else is grayed out, which is not very helpful when you're trying to present this data to an audience. So by having this highlight, you're actually preventing any highlight from everything else. So we are using from one sheet 6 to another sheet 6, and we're doing tagging F, which is false. So anything that has that field associated will not be highlighted when it's clicked, which is exactly what we want to happen, because otherwise this is going to become very challenging for my audience to read, which I don't want. So that about wraps up for this video. I've walked you through this build, all the different nuances and different things I've had to do, sometimes for the competition, sometimes much more for my audience and their understanding. So hope these tips have been helpful for you, and good luck competing in the Iron Viz.